Hello. Well, first, about me. My name is Rodrigo Diaz. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina. I'm a front-end developer here at ERNI. I'm not a game developer, sadly, and I probably spend way too much time playing video games. Because of these two things is what uh, makes today's talk. I always wanted to make video games because I play a lot. So when I was a teenager, when I started thinking about my future, I think, okay, let's just jump on the best thing that I knew, that is video games. So as any great thing in the world, it started with a Wikipedia search. What is game development? So I started reading the Wikipedia, and I couldn't understand nothing because I didn't know anything about programming. I didn't know anything about things that happen between the computer and the writing code, anything. So what I did was enter in the job section of my favorite video game company, and I read the requirements, and I read that it was required C and C++. So again, the best way to start with a thing is to search for the Wikipedia page. And when I read about C and C++, I was like shocked because I was expecting that the computer will do things for me. I don't want to know the things that garbage collector and so on. And it was okay. Let's just study journalism because if you can create games, you can criticize them. If it works for football journalists, also for game developers. Um, well, as the time go by, I started programming. I learned about JavaScript, and with JavaScript, it was pretty different from the language that I previously I understood, that was C and C++. I don't really understood, and also I didn't understand the global C and C++, but I understood JavaScript. It was easy. I can do things that works. So I started doing front-end developer. But now that the browser is in a state that, I mean, Chrome consumes almost the same RAM as a high-end video game, so if the browser is powerful enough, we can create great things in video games. So why? My first question when I started created this talk was about why. Why should I develop games for the browser or in JavaScript if all the game development companies ask for C and C++? Well, I already think about these things. If you're here, you probably know JavaScript, so this is a good plus for starting. The second was that I was talking earlier. The powerful is already pretty powerful. I don't know if anyone is familiar with the website noclip.website. Well, this website we can show it later. It's like it steals kinda of the assets of Dark Souls or Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, all these games, and renders the entire map in your browser, and you can explore this map using the arrows and the mouse and keyboard. So this is possible. So we can construct better things. Uh, the best thing for me also, you don't have to worry about the distribution or the how to share your game, because if it is in a browser, it is on a web. It is on a web. Any device with a browser can enter your game. Yeah. Also, it's the same for this one. The user can play your game from any device, as opposed to browser. And if you want, you can use Electron to make it a more installable experience. Anyone is familiar with Electron, and it just makes some sort of a wrapper in your front end web, and you can install it. It's pretty easy. to start with. So it will now we will go. Well, what is Phaser? Phaser is a free software. It's a library that has a lot of features that we will talk about later. But also it's mobile and desktop. So you have like a trick to make the same game available for your cell phone and also for a desktop with minimum lines of code. And the best thing that I rescue from his Wikipedia page is that it only links a browser compatible with the Canvas stack. This means that Internet Explorer 11 is support. Okay, I didn't try, but it says support. Uh, so Phaser features. Well, you can see here a lot of features that is already implemented in the framework. We have the physics, the preloaded animation, the sprites, the plugin system, device scaling, camera, sound inputs, and particles, and much more. We will make the game that we are making today. It will use some of these, like sprites, like preloader, like physics, of course, the input. We will create an stationary canvas. We will not use the camera, let's say, but we will be using some of this in the code. Okay, so you all want to see maybe an example of this framework because I can talk a lot about it, but if it's a video game, you need to see something. So I found something interesting. As you can see here is the polarized web that they are selling some sort of Stranger Things theme Polaroid cameras. So if you just put here the Konami code, yeah, it's the Konami code for real. The web will do a transition into a some sort of arcade, and all this arcade, all of this, the animation and so are all done with Phaser.js. It also has sound. I don't know if you can listen. Probably not because I screwed it up. One second, please. All of this transition, all of this animation, also the pixel art is done by this framework. Let's just select a character here, and you can play the game. And also, as you can see here, there's some sort of animation. When you kill, you have the image, and you get the idea, right? All of this is done by using Phaser. So this is an example. Take into account that Phaser it's a 2D game framework. So this has a thing to take into account. And also, if this works, we will get straight into the code. Okay, this code will be available for you. It's already in the ERNI Frontend community repository if you want to fork it. And I will show you the game. This is the game. This is the final product of this session. Okay, you will have an sprite that moves using the arrows. Also, you can jump with space. And if you collect all the stars here, oh yeah, it's tricky. I also modify the gravity in order to make it more enjoyable because in the example the gravity was too high and it was so easy to make this jump. Okay, and also a bomb will spawn. This bomb, when it hits our player, it will start the game. It will stop the game. Okay, and the final um, this is it just stops, I just wanted to make a game over screen, but I couldn't find the time. I will do it, and I will update the repository for sure when I have it. But this is the game. You can collect as many stars as you want, and if you collect all the stars again, you will have a second bomb, and then a third, and then a fourth, and so on. Okay, this is the game. And just as a preview, this is all the code that is needed for it. It's just over not so many lines. Okay, we will go step by step in order to reproduce it and to understand what is happening. Just for the curious out here out there, it's a basic webpack, yeah, template. You have a I have webpack here that is loading up my JS files, and I just have one index and one game scene. That is the only two files that are needed, and also have here the assets for me. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Is it too big or it's okay? Okay, so let us just switch to another branch. You don't have to have bad luck, and also you have to be quick on solving bugs in the moment. I don't have neither of those, so I'm just doing the branching. Okay, first, we'll start with this, that is our index.js. This is our starting point of the code. Okay, as you can see here, I'm importing phaser. If I'm going fast, please stop me and I will try to rephrase and express it properly. And I also imported another JS file. And as you can see here, I started with with the config file. It's an object that has some properties here. The first property is a phaser. The phaser is this type. It corresponds to WebGL or Canvas. Since the framework supports both modes, if you put auto here, it will start with WebGL. If your browser doesn't support WebGL, it will automatically change to Canvas. Okay. Here is the width and the height of our scene. That will be this one because it's a resolution that I still use in my counter-strike settings, so I'm very familiar to this. And also we have the scene, that this scene has to have these three functions exported. These three functions are the functions that the object will expect to have in order to call them when it's necessary. As you can see here, the names are pretty obvious as well when the framework is calling them. Okay, it's clear so far? Any questions? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. Well, that's a good question. Let's say the limitation of the browser and the resources that the browser has in available. Okay, you will have a lot of power, but also it's not the same power as doing a high-end game like one for the console or one in the Steam library. You will not have that power. Okay, you will also have some sort of incompatibility issues with the browser that is expected as any website has, and I think that's all. Maybe I can learn more about it, and I can reply you later. But the main issue that I had while creating this is first the browser compatibility that it says the framework says that it's already compatible with all of them, but as a front end, I know that this is not always true. Yeah, yeah, of course. On the chip. WebGL or WebGL or the video bar. Okay. We always have the the main limitation are the limitation of the browser. That's the main difference between a native app and or a native game to a web application, let's say. No, Face.js is on top of Pixie.js. I don't know if anyone is has because you can wrap your Facer application with an Electron wrapper. Electron is just a wrapper that wraps all the application into an installable. So you can install or you can use it to simulate a native, but it's not really an app. It's just a browser. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think I'm not an Electron expert, but Electron, what it does is when you install it, you you open the application or the game, you see an screen, and this screen from behind is a browser that is that is loading. You are not opening, you are not seeing the browser, but it's there. The browser is there.
Electron is a Chromium base. The Chrome is a Chromium base. That when you open one application with an Electron, you are opening one browser.
Okay, it's clear so far. Okay, let's continue with this. As you can see here, we have the basic, the index.js, and also the game scene. As I was explaining later, this game scene, this scene is expecting to have these three functions that we call when are needed. The first is the preload, that is the asset that the game loads on the first run. The create is the creation that needs this preload because needs the asset in order to render in our canvas on another view, and this is the update function. That is the function that will be called every time in some sort of a loop. Okay, this is the update function. Here we will be connecting the or writing, for example, the listeners to our key press, because we need to have all when I press a key, I need to execute an animation. Okay, and this is what it renders, Phaser. Okay, we're just loading here a, a canvas, a screen that is on the width and height that we specify on the config, and we are doing nothing more. Okay, just a blank screen. So which leads us to the next step. This next step, we are what we are doing here is just importing the assets. Okay, the PNG files. As you can see, the PNG files are here. There is a bomb that we're importing. Here is also a sprite sheet, a platform, and a sky, and a star. Okay, we are importing all these assets in our game scene, and we will use this function of the faces load. This load, we tell us it's an image that we are loading, and also this first parameter is a name that we name our asset with a key. Let's say this sky will be our key to call it later when we use it. And the second parameter is the elements. Let's say this is the PNG file. Okay, it's the same for the ground, for the star, for the bomb, and also here we are not loading an image, we are loading a spreadsheet, and we will make to this sprite sheet, we will give it the width and the height of the sprite, because as you know, here there are multiple sprites here. These sprites will be our motion, our animation. We will use every one of each of these sprites, and we will give it a command. We will link them together in order to make an animation. We can do it if we, instead of having all the position, yeah. We will. It's a little bit of a spoiler, but what we do is we select an animation, and we assign different parts of the animation. Let's say if this is an array, every one of these is a position, and we will just select the animation, give it a name, and select the sprites that we need for that animation. We will do it eventually. Okay, and what I'm doing here, as you can see here, is part of the preload function. We're loading our assets, and we are here also doing a thing with the create. This create function is what gives us the possibility to use our assets in the view. So what we are doing here, we are adding to our canvas the sky key that is already loaded here with the sky key, and also give it these x and y parameters. These x and y parameters are because since we are using 800 for 600, it's center. Yeah, as you can see here, it is in the center of the of our canvas. You will have the sky. Since the sky is a pretty big image, it will be center in the center of the canvas. And also, here we are adding a star also in the center of the canvas. Okay. One important thing about this preload, these assets load in order. It's like Photoshop layers that are one in top of each other. So the sky is our background, the ground is on top of the sky, the star is on top of the ground, and the sky, and so on. Is that part clear? It's it's not centered by default. It by default is on the top left because the start of the canvas is its starting point, so it is 0, 0 is there. So we are making this 400, 300 to be in the center of the canvas. Since we already defined the height and the width of the canvas here, so we know where the center is. Okay. This is reload, this is what we get. Okay. So far it's simple. Remember this. Sorry. Remember this that we have here. The this is the there is like scene index that we have on our image. Let me just show you what happens if I didn't add or the 0, 0, let's say. It's gonna be like this because the center is here, so it's 0, 0. It's here for it, so the center it will be in the 0, 0. Yeah, yeah, yes. No, no, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. We are here all to learn. So thank you, Gilberto. Okay, let's continue. So far, so good. We have this with a background and a star. Okay, let's jump to the next. As you can see here, we are also creating the platforms. There are two types of groups in Phaser. There are static and dynamic groups. The ones that are static are the ones that when they collide with another object, it doesn't matter. It doesn't move. It doesn't know what is happening. It just doesn't move at all. Okay, so this static, it will be great for our ground, okay, or walls or anything that we need a collider for the player, okay. And we here are creating inside this group, we are creating elements. These elements also are in with our coordinates, and we have the ground element that we preloaded in our previous, okay. And we are creating 4 of them. And as you can see here, this is the another function that we are applying to it. This function, what it does is just multiplicate the platform or this game object, let's say. Why? Because if this platform is the ground, we will need to cover the entire width. Since this PNG is not wide enough and it's not height enough, we will need to duplicate it, this one. Okay, so we are doing just this, duplicate it. Okay, and also we are calling this refresh bodies because since it's an static object, it needs to call the refresh body in order to repaint it. Repaint it, repaint it, repaint it. Okay. Okay, is that clear? Any question? Okay, so let's see. This is how it's looking our game now. We have the platforms, we have a ground here, and we also remove the start because it doesn't make sense to have a start in the middle. Okay, continue. Okay, third step. Here is what makes the game more enjoyable. Here starts the fun. We're creating a player. Okay, we're giving it a position and a sprite, calling the physics sprite, where we are making, we are telling the framework that this is a sprite that has physics. We are not setting anything if you want only this. We're just creating the game object and also give it coordinates and a name. Get what this name is also connected to the sprite sheet that we loaded just earlier. Okay, and we here will start to set how this game object will interact with our world. For starters, the first function here is the set bounds. The set bounds, you will see it now, but when it collides to something, it will create a little bounce with the floor, just to make it more real, just to make it more enjoyable. If you have just the player arrives and it's still, you will find it a little weird to see. Okay, and the second function that we're calling is the set collider world bounds. This is pretty easy. With what does is, okay, our player, if we created our player here without this set collider, it will be created in the coordinate with anything. So it just found, and then we'll go down to a scene that we didn't catch anyway. So this set collider, we will create that our player will have interaction with the bounds of the world. So it will only move between this width and height. Okay. And also, well, this is the first part of this. And as you can see here, if I reload, here is the player that it has collider and also have this bounce that we talked earlier. Okay, and this is also important that we add the physics here in the game object, because we didn't have any. We didn't have gravity. The things that we created that are not static, it didn't know how to behave with the world if we don't have the physics for it. So in this case, we are using the arcade physics. The phaser has 3, I only experimented with this the arcade physics because, as far as I know, all the examples that I read and also all the documentation is clear for this physics engine. But you have two more to play around if you want. You maybe can switch this later with another engine, and you will check what happens. Also, yeah, but I was talking about this arcade. Is the physics engine that has Phaser integrated. It has other two more that other settings. Yeah, this all setting has different functions to apply on the game object. It has different values, so it you need to read all the documentation for that in order to. It's not just change and it would work. It has different functions, different attributes, and so on. Okay, so as far Mhm. Yes, you can assign here. We are setting the gravity for our entire canvas, our entire game, but you can add gravity only to objects. So you can specify different gravity for from an object. Okay, and also here setting the gravity in the y-axis to this. Okay, just to make it to make it more playable. Also here we have the debug that is set to false. This will trace all the movement. It's pretty cool to see because it will follow off the movement and all the calculation doing by JavaScript by the engine, and you will see the collider and so on that you don't normally see, but will turn this to true in a more advanced state. Okay, just to see how um, the browser and the framework calculates all the trajectory of the things and so. Okay, and this also I add here the animations. Okay, here we are creating animations. These animations will be bound to the left key. Is again our name that we will call the animation, and we are creating the frames for it. Okay, this is a function also for face. It generates frame numbers. We pass it the let me just see if I can move this. Okay, the we will pass it the name of the asset that we loaded, and also we'll assign the frames to the animation. Okay, imagine that this spreadsheet is an array. We have a zero position, a one, a two, a three, a four, a five, and so. Okay, so we are here. We are saying that this left, that is the move left animation, will start in the first sprite, that is the zero position, and will end in the third one. Okay, zero, one, two, three. All of these sprites are our move left animation. Okay. Yeah. Only one step will be one frame. If you keep pressing it, this is because this is the repeat parameter. It will give us the repeat. Okay. Okay. And also the frame rate. The frame rate is 10 because if you since we don't have many animation, many sprites for it, if we put this to 60 or more, it would just go like this because it don't have that many animation in order to look properly in that many frames per second. Okay, we're doing the same for the turn animation. That the turn animation is also the same key, but it's only one frame. It doesn't have an start and an end because when I want this turn animation to play, it would only face the camera. Okay, so it's only this position here. Okay, is that part clear? This animation also the same for the right animation. We're generating from 5 to 8, so it's all of these four, the last four, and the same to repeat, and the frame rate. We are not calling the animation yet, so we have only, we created animation, we assign um, uh, uh, sprites to it, but we are not calling them. Okay, it's clear so far? Yeah. The Oh, the repeat is what makes the loop of the animation. Because when you finish with all of these three four sprites, you want it to repeat itself because the walking motion it's always repetitive. So when you start here, you will see this sprite and this sprite and this sprite, and with this parameter with the repeat with this value, when it reach this, it will start again to the frame zero. Okay, it's just a way to look because if you don't set the repeat or just set the repeat to a positive number, it will just uh, stuck here and it will not move anymore because it doesn't have this loop mechanism. Okay. It's clear so far the animation and the creation of the animations is we're not using it yet, but we will. Let's move to the next. Okay. Okay. We also, as as you can notice in a previous exercise, we don't have the we only have the player to collide with the wall. We want this, but we also want the player to collide with the platforms in order to move through the platforms. This is what the next line does. It just creates a collider between the player and the platform. Okay, this collider will prevent to these two elements will always will not overlap each other. Okay, we have an static that is the platforms. It will have a dynamic object that will interact but will never overlap because we have created a collider between them. Okay, I think that it's another function that has more than two, but I think that this one is only with two elements. But I think you may be able. Also, take into account that this first element is only the player. That is one element. This platform is it's a group that we created earlier. So we are here just adding a collider between the player and the entire group of platforms. Okay, you can, yes, just to for simplicity purposes. Yes, we will we will do that. We will create a group of stars, and it needs to be collided with the stars, the entire group, and all of the stars that we create, and the platforms. And here we create on our variable cursors. We call these also this function to create the cursor keys. This what it does is it will provide our this variable to our key bindings. Okay, okay, that was clear. And then we are finally using our update function. As I told earlier, this update function is the function that will call every time in a loop. This is our refresh function as well. Okay, so this is a function that will be always listening to something that we put in there. Okay, in this case, we will create uh, something that will happen when we press the left key. This is down is when you hold it pressed. Okay, if you just press it once, it will move, as long as you have your finger on the key. Okay? And this will set a velocity on the x-axis to a negative number because we are since we are moving to the left, we are always moving to that part of the screen. And this velocity is just um, in this number. We can do it as far as we can. I just found this number to be enjoyable as a plane type, but yeah, you can just play with it. Okay, and we are calling this the player, the animation that we created earlier. Yes, remember that we have this key that are our names for this animation. When the when the left key is down, we will play the this one. This is the refresh. We want this to be called again. Okay. The same for the right. Okay. And also there is a else here, that this else is our default. If you are not pressing anything, you will have the turn animation. This turn animation is part of this sprite looking to the screen. Let's say, okay, there was only one frame. I think that you can. I don't really know to be sure. You maybe need to watch the documentation for that. But I think I saw in the web a little bit of an example of a multiplayer game, so it can be done for sure. But I don't know really know the how to map different keys. Maybe to assign different variables to I don't know. These cursor keys could be created the same but not with the cursor, just using the ASDW. Maybe you can do that. I don't really know how, but I know that multiplayer you can do it in some matters. You can, but I don't know what happened if you press two keys. Yeah, you will call the two function at a time. So whatever you press first, it will the second one will override the first one. Not really. No, no. So far, it's always been called. Yeah, yeah. The update it's always been called. Yeah, I mean, in this in this state that you're watching here, this state you are not pressing anything, but the update is always being called and making sure that you are not pressing anything. I don't really think so because if we talk again, I'm not a game developer, but if we talk about games, this refresh function is always calculating, or this update as it's called here, it's always calculated the difference between second and second or 2 seconds, or depending on the refresh rate. Okay, or maybe less than 1 second. So I don't think so. Again, I don't know to be true, but I don't think so because the power of the update function is that it's always looping through. Because if it's not looping through, you will not see any animation. Also, nothing will be listening to the key press. All of these change of the on the elements of the screen. This is the power of the create. This is the power of a refreshing a game. This is what give us mobility in the game, and also which applies to the behavior of our player. We need this to be looped through every time. So this is also a heads up for be careful what you use and what you code in the update, because you know that will always be calling. Okay? Yeah. The whole thing. Okay? And just one more thing, I created the jump animation. This jump animation, as you can see here, you also can strafe in the air. This jump animation is when you press the space key. It was with the up key, but I found it more natural to have the space key to jump. So I bind it to the space key. And this and here is also we are calling if the player is touching the floor. This makes sense. Also can be trigger as well, because without this the player can jump in the air. Yeah, yeah. It's funny to see, but if you just I know this is a demo and in a pretty basic example, but I wanted it to be fun, to be challenging, and all these change the gravity and also change this value to make sense for me to be the jump not to be so high to make it easier. So I you can play around with these values as well. Okay. Well, and this is our current status. You have here, you can all the level, and you can jump around. So so far, so good. To the next step. Here we create the the stars that we are collecting. Okay, uh, I don't know if you remember on when I show you the preview of the game. You have in the platform you have stars that you collect, and when you collect them all, you the stars respawn, and also it deploys a bomb in the game. Okay. Now in this step we are creating this star as a group, the same as it was created for the platform. But in this case, we are not creating a static group. We are creating something that collides, something that behaves, something that could fall if you remember the star fall for the sky. Okay, so in order to make this star can't be static, needs to be dynamic. Okay, we are doing here. We are just creating 11 of the same in the same group with the same key. Okay, and here we are calling this object with this parameter that leave us a way to set the x and the y axis, and also this step x. This step x is in every iteration that we are creating in all of these 11 stars. In the next, it will always be 70 forward to the right. Okay, so we don't have the 11 stars in the same. We will have all moved by 70 in the x-axis. The first star is in this position in an 82, and so yeah, yes, it's always will start in this, the first one, the second one will be in this, and so with the remaining until you finish this iteration. Okay? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You can also in this step oops, add some sort of um, math random, let's say, and you can create it. It's just a number. I mean, if the number is pretty similar, the stars will overlap, but it's just playing around with that number. Okay, when we okay here, the stars we iterate them. It's just a for each, but for the phaser engine, and we will set to all the stars in our star group. We will set a bounce. It was the same as the player. We will set a bounce. In this case, for example, we're using this float between just to make it more dynamic because not every star will bounce the same. It's pretty close, but we will play it a little bit with it just to make it more clear. Okay. And in the next line, we are running the collider that we already did with the stars and the with the platform and the player. We are also adding a collider between the all the stars, the group, and all the group of platforms. Okay, and lastly, we will create an overlap function. This overlap function is what happens when the player and the stars overlap. Take into account that overlap is not the same as collide, because the collide it's when just touch barely. When it starts touching, this is a collider. The overlap is when it's inside, let's say, we are sharing the same space in the screen. Yes, yes. When one of the game objects overlaps, I don't think it's the center. Just if yes, when the sprites touches each other, it will trigger something. In this case, this trigger will be our function here that is the collect star. The collect star is a function that we have here. Okay. The other parameter here is if when this function exits, we can call a second function, some sort of a callback if we want to do anything about it. Okay, just not part of the main. Just we have two functions. The first one in to be executed is this, and the second one is this if we need to use it or if we we want to use it. Okay, and the last parameter is just the scope because it needs some values. This overlap needs some values for our this, let's say, our object. Okay, and we will call this collect star function. This collect star function will be received as a parameter the two elements that we call to the overlap. So since we have the two elements that are overlapping, we can do something about it. This something that we will do is just to make the star disable. This disable has two parameters here. The first one is to make it disabled, so it's not it can not longer interact with the player or with the environment. And also the second one is to hide it. Okay, we are disabling the game object, and we're also hiding it. Okay, so if we check, we'll have this. Also check that the bounds that we get from the stars are pretty different from one of each other. It's not pretty, but it's different because we set a random number here. Also, let me just play around with it just to see the change. As you can see, here are some that bounce higher than others. This is because we set a random number. I selected this because it seems more natural and also adds more dynamic behavior to the screen. Okay. Okay, this children is every element of this group that we created. The 11 stars also, and this iterate is like a for each but for phaser. Okay, we will do anything. We will do something with every one of these stars. This is like a normal for each. I saw this iterate and I found it more probably since we are also using the framework, but I think it could be achieved with a for each as well. You can do it. You can do it. Also, you can call the collect star just to disable the star, and an aftermath you can do with the second function, just because you consume the star and then you want the the groove. Yeah. Where? Sorry. Oh yeah. No, 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 not really. Yeah. 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 No, no. It just adds a collider between the two objects, nothing more. And any object that you pass. In this case, are two groups, but we also did the player and a group, and the player is only one object. Okay, and let me just refresh again. This is our game now. We collect the star. Nothing happened, but we consume stars. Okay, so far we have a little bit of a game. It's still pretty boring, but we have something to play of. Let's just move to the next step. Okay, here we add in uh, the overlap star, and also here we have the score. There is a score in the top left. We want it there just to trace over all the stars that we are consuming. Okay, this star that we are consuming, here is a little bit of CSS, you know, from the community. We need to add some CSS to it to have this on the with a font size and with a color, nothing more. Okay, and here we are setting the text to the to this x's and y, to these coordinates. We will set the first string that will show the first text is this score 0. Okay, and then if you're following this, you also know something. We need to add uh, something to the score when the overlap happens. We have the collect star function that we're calling here. This collect star function is always only disabling and hiding the star. We can do something else. We can also add 10 points to the counter. Okay, so this is what we are doing here. We are not only disabling the body of the star, we are also adding 10 points to the to our counter here. It's a variable, and then we set it into the set text on the score text variable that we created earlier. Okay, is this part clear? Where is the score? Nice question. You want it, you have it. This is our variable. I was thinking, yes, yes, because it needs the variables in order to function. There is also, I was trying because I know it's a little messy to follow. Um, I was trying to add TypeScript to this project. It can be done. It's a little tricky because the typings are maintained by the community, so it's something. It's not correlative always. the version with the typings. You need to find the same version of them, but it can be done. And with TypeScript, yeah, the code is cleaner and also prettier. It can be done. And also are in GitHub, you have some templates of projects with Phaser with TypeScript, but it's not that easy to port a already working example or already working game to that. Yes, you can. Yes, you already have the score variable here as 0. So in this case, we will create. Yeah, yeah. With the logic, it can be done for sure. Okay, so we are calling this collect star and adding 10 points every time we touch a star. Let me show you to show you that I'm not lying. Hopefully, okay, it works. As you can see here, when we pick up, we overlap, the player overlaps with a star, we are always adding 10 points to the score here. Okay, so far, is it clear? Any question? No, not at all. It was these meetups are created by the workers of the the company. We are always searching for topics that are interesting to us and to others. And as I told in the start of the but also all the knowledge in languages that I have is in JavaScript. So since I discovered this and I was playing with this on my home, we just okay, if this maybe is interesting for for someone else, we will just share it. But we don't work here with games. Also myself, I work as a front end developer, not games at all. Yeah, also one of the positive messages that I really wanted to give is like it doesn't matter the language that you know. In this case, I only know JavaScript, but if I want to make games with JavaScript, it's possible. In a certain degree, it's possible to start playing around with games. I don't think that the language is a barrier. It's also JavaScript is also it's powerful and it runs in the browser, so it's a good start. I don't think the language should be a limitation if what you want it's really do games or make games. Yeah. Also, yeah, yeah. Also the yes, Facer is only it's only 2D. Yeah. There's also just one comment. There's also a lot of streamings. I probably many of you know the platform Twitch, Twitch.tv. There is also a ton of programmers that are making games with sharing the screen, streaming the screen, and a lot of them that I was in contact that are using JavaScript. Not only Phaser or a game engine, there there is a guy that is using just React and playing a little bit with the animation with CSS and some divs to move it there and there. And it's making like a chess game, but I I don't think that the language is the barrier at all. Hopefully, yeah. It's my job, yeah. Okay, let's continue. Uh, yeah, yeah. I don't, I think it's always hiding the element. Yeah, it's not cleaning memory. As far as I know. Uh, well, well. We are you are seeing this the respawning of the stars. There are the same stars. Yeah, yeah. It's a yes, yes. We are reusing. We will check this in the next step. But yes, we are always using the same element. We are modifying its position and also make it visible again. But we are using the same group that we are using here. We are creating earlier. Yeah, yeah. I think yeah, yeah. Should be possible because if not, it's just a memory. Okay, is it clear so far? Okay, and in this step, we are doing one step forward. What we are doing here, if we check the stars again, hopefully it will respond, and you will see how it responds. Okay, you will have another round of stars that will pop from the top and then fall down to the ground. How are we doing this? Again, this is all part of the collect star because when we collect all the stars, we also have one method that is active, that is of count active, sorry, that is bound into a group of game objects. It will count if any one of these is active. It's active is the true. Okay, it has a property that is here disable. Disable is active to false as well. So this is counting if any stars that we have already created, if any of them are active. If there is non-active, we will iterate the stars, the same stars again. We will iterate them. We will do what we will do with them. We will enable the body. Okay, we'll set the body to true to make it again interact with the platforms, with the player, and so we will maintain the position in the x-axis of the star just to because if you remember when we create the stars we do this on every step we add to the x-axis. So we want to maintain the same. Okay? Is clear that part? Okay. We maintain the x position and we will set the y-axis to 0. We have all the elements again in the same position in the x-axis, but it will respawn in the 0 of the y. Sorry, again. Oh, opa. Okay. Yeah. Also taking into account the position of the player. If the position of the player in the x-axis is the same as one of the stars, yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's continue with the final step. Okay. So far we have the score, we have the stars respawning, we also have the physics and so, but we don't have a way to lose. We will need a way to lose in order to make our game enjoyable. Okay, so in order to make it a way to lose, what we are going to do, just let me collect the stars. If I'm not failing the big leap, hopefully we will make it properly. Okay, we will set up a bomb. This bomb has some logic to it that we will go through. Okay, also have some sort of randomness to it. Already lost. Okay, so let's just go for it. First, we are. This is like a trick. I want I want to know where the player is in the x-axis, and also make it the bomb have 1 point in the x-axis, just far from the player. This is because I want to give the player an opportunity to escape from the bomb. I don't want the bomb to respawn in top of the player. Okay, just to make it more enjoyable again, just to let the player to see the bomb and how to behave around the bomb. Okay, so we are getting this. Yeah, this is basic JavaScript logic. It's just a random number. If it's in this part of the screen, it will go to the other one and so. Okay, is this clear? Okay, so here we create a bomb. Okay, only, yeah, bombs create. We get the x axis as we already know with this little statement here to this sprite that we load to this asset. We set the bomb to a bounce also to collide not only with the wall. We also need to collide with the platform. Okay, and we set a velocity that this velocity will be also be random, kind of random. Okay, just to make just to have bombs that are more fast and bombs that are slowest. Okay, let me. I think I'm missing something. Here, here we are creating the group bomb. Sorry, I was missing out some things. Here we are creating the group bomb as we do with the platforms. We are adding the collider with the bombs and the platforms. Okay, and also adding a collider with the player and the bombs, and we're calling the hit bomb function. Okay, remember that this is a collider and not an overlap because we want the game to stop when it hits it. though we did overlaps it. Okay, and just as the same as the overlap function in this hit function, hit bound function, we will have the two. Okay, I'm not going to use it because I just using this physics pause and this game over. This game over is it's. I was looking wide on some information about this. This is like a global variable that we have in the game. This game over stops. Okay, it stops the calling for the update function. Okay, here we have the physics to stop, so we are stopping the physics, but the game is still calling the update function. Remove the game over, the physics will stop, but the update function will still be listening for the key press. So you are dead, but if you press the key, the player will still play the animations. The player keeps moving. Yes, because the if it's a dynamic object, so it has some animation attached to the game object, and this game over is what stops calling in loop the update function. The update function is what it has the key down presses. So even though we stop the physics, the all the elements will stop because it has no more physics, no more gravity, and so. But the update function will still be hearing for the key press. So even though the game is frozen, the player can still move. Yeah, for sure. What? It can be done. Yeah, we can try that. What happens if we just do the game over? Anybody understand? Uh, what are we doing here? This is the final step. We are going to check what happens if we remove the physics, and then we will remove the game over, and we will see how the game behaves. Yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, maybe you can also you can play around with it since you know that this game over and the physics falls. If you know how to behave, you can play around with them for sure. We also know that okay, if if you want some sort of Mario Bros. Ending screen that when you get hit, not the it triggers an animation, but maybe you want the Goombas to still walking around just to give it more dynamic gameplay. You want to have a game over screen, but also you want that the enemy is still moving. You, oh yeah, well the angle for the bomb is just set with the bounce and the velocity. It's spawned in a x-axis, and then it just uh, bounces on the wall, and the engine is what calculates where it's going to be next. Also, just since we are in the ending, we'll make this to true, just for you to see how the framework calculates all of its behavior. So as you can see here, we have the element that is also there, but it's disabled, and also when we check the bomb, for me it's pretty interesting to see this behavior, this how the browser and the framework takes into account all these movements. Not only this jump, as you can see here, there is is drawing a line for the movement and calculated it all. So yeah, I just drop it. Yeah. I said I said some sort of a random velocity just to make it more enjoyable. Yeah, yeah, I think yeah. It could be yeah. 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 Let me just know where the stars are. I'm just copy pasting the same. It will do that. Yep. Yeah. Also remember that the doesn't have a collider with the wall. Yes. If it has, it will just behave like normally with stop there and nothing moves. So yeah, it gives a more dynamic. Uh, if it controls it. Oh, you want to change the velocity in some time. I don't really know to be true. But yeah, you since remember that all of this game will be on our ERNI community frontend repository. You can fork it and play around. It will be as finished as it gets. And also you will have the different branches with the every step to achieve this. Yeah, yeah. We can talk about more about game design and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild in the kitchen with the pizza. Yeah. And that's it. That's all. Thank you.